One of the major errors I see in people learning negotiation from me is that they believe it has to be obvious and that they have to prepare their arguments in advance of the negotiation. In addition, they believe that they must create justifications for their opponent to deal with them. Perhaps that kind of bargaining is acceptable, but I'll educate you about situations in which you don't have enough time to prepare. Therefore, the strategy we will talk about today is information collection. If you are a former watcher, you may recall that I have stressed that understanding. Information is essential to winning a war, and you might consider it a role, whether it's negotiation or manipulation. Alright, so you must consider your options before entering and searching through his thoughts for information. Well, your opponents won't be suspicious of the information gathering technique I'll teach you. And even if your opponent is successful and willing to provide you with information, eventually he will be forced to deal with you in accordance with the strategy we will be discussing today, which is called mirroring. Mirroring is a very easy technique to use. All you have to do is repeat it. 1 to 3 terms from the statement made by your opponent. It's easy to use, and the effect will give your opponent the impression that you are truly listening to him because it will seem as though you have heard everything he has to say. You can verify this by saying some of the same words aloud to him and then acting as though you were asking questions. Your opponent will offer to clarify again in greater depth and with additional information that you might find useful, acting as though you are inquisitive. Due to its extreme simplicity, a lot of individuals believe that this method is ineffective, until at last they put it into practice themselves. All right, humans are really content when they receive genuine attention. We are overjoyed. The goal of this mirroring is to establish a rapport with your opponent, who you are aware of my modified content, provided that they listen to us and comprehend what we are saying. The secret to successfully manipulating someone is to build relationships. One of the key components of successful negotiating is developing relationships. By imitating your opponent, you can demonstrate interest in them, which will make you appear very appealing to them. Of sure, he will be delighted to talk to you because you seem fascinating. I will share a first-hand account with you. My father had an accident when I was still in college, so I had to go with him to the reunion. I was incredibly lazy at beginning. I was incredibly indolent because at that moment, I didn't feel like a proud child, but I tried to look at the bright side of things. Since most retired officers were the driving force behind business, perhaps if I could cultivate strong relationships, I might be invited to do business. My father and I greeted everyone at the reunion, and as we did so, a lot of individuals begged to talk. For instance, Mr. A remarked something like, "Sir, do you remember that my son and he entered the medical faculty yesterday?" When we were speaking. Here I am, sir, replicating exactly what I see at the University of Medicine. That is accurate, sir. I want to advise him to register as an officer when he graduates. Bachelor's degree for an officer, please. Yes, sir. I continue doing that until I'm asked to have a conversation with someone else. If it's simpler to join medicine, it's easier to enter an officer's degree and so on. So I talked to about 70% of the men there, and as a result, even though I wasn't proud of my grades or other accomplishments, my father was quite happy and proud of me on the drive home, because his friends thought I was a bright young man. And luminous, and they advised my father to always ask me to reunions, since I'm an excellent conversationalist, and we show interest in or curiosity about what the other person is saying. Then further express a willingness to learn from them in order to make them feel valued and respected. And there are a ton of them. Yes, I'm sure the most are really hard for me to articulate, that speak to our innermost feelings. They find it extremely difficult to tell stories, so when we can help 70% of these people tell stories, it will relieve them and strengthen our bond with them. But what if the person we are speaking with is hostile and seeks confrontation? Just get right to the illustration. Assume I'm in a professional setting. When I try to sell someone a product and they refuse to accept the price I'm offering, I get attacked and say things in a loud voice like, "This is excessively costly, sir." I will return, "You are correct, sir. You should be aware, sir, that my company's budget is constrained and that this is by no means above the market. Then, sir, I will re-ask if there is a budget limit. Indeed, sir, we also need to make additional purchases. I must repeat my request to purchase another thing, sir, and I will do it often. The individual I am speaking with will keep providing me with any information I might require. Afterward, he will explain his primary objection to my price. Maybe he wants to tamper with the budget of his business. Or perhaps the shape is limited, but we must be certain first. In any case, I will gather information until I have it, digest it, and then use it as a weapon. In the event that someone vicious attacks you in a loud voice later on, you can use this technique. Just be careful to speak quietly and exhibit your curiosity. All right, before I wrap up, let me teach you another method. Quiet. That concludes our video for today. Remember to follow, like, and subscribe.